Move over, rookie moms. I'm gonna teach you how to pack a lunchbox like a pro. I actually don't know if I'm an expert at packing lunches, but what I do know is this job has gone way overboard. I think things got complicated when mom started pulling out fancy cookie cutters, themed lunchboxes, and glitter. Thank you, Pinterest. I think it's time we dial it back, so I'm gonna share with you my tips for packing a great lunchbox. This brings me to my first tip. Don't overthink it. I promise, your kid is not sitting there comparing your work of art in their lunchbox to the kid sitting next to them. And if your kid's lunch isn't fancy, you're still a good mom. Second, get the ice packs. I don't remember having these as a kid, and somehow I managed to survive eating room temperature turkey sandwiches, but it's nasty. I like ice packs that are nice and thin and flat so you can stack food on top of them easily. I like to get a couple for each kid because they're reusable and they're inexpensive. You can even get them at the dollar store. If you don't have ice packs, you can use frozen drinks. They'll be nice and thawed, a little bit slushy about lunchtime. I also love using frozen applesauce pouches. My next tip is to switch things up. I think if you serve your kids the same thing every day, you might turn them into a picky eater. You know what your kids like, and you can serve them the same thing every day, just serve it in a different way. These are the same ingredients, just twisted up. I've got a regular sandwich, a roll-up, throw it on a skewer, or serve it in a roll. Genius. In my opinion, fruit is an important element to a kid's lunchbox, but how you pack the fruit might determine whether or not they're gonna eat it. My next tip is to use small containers for your fruit, especially things like melons and berries. My kids will not eat their fruit when it starts to get slimy. While we're talking about fruits, let me show you how to send an apple in your kid's lunchbox without it turning all brown. You might have seen this hack before where they quarter the apple, but it goes to school with the core and all. That ain't gonna work. I'm gonna show you how I cut it. Cut off the opposite sides first, then cut off the remaining sides around the core. Then you build it back together. For extra insurance, sometimes I rinse the apple with a little bit of water before I put it back together. You can use a rubber band to hold it back together, but I like to use plastic wrap because it's easier, everybody has it, and it doesn't let any air get to the apple. There you go. And for fruits that don't need any special attention, my suggestion are clementines. These are easy to eat, easy to peel, and they don't have to be cold. My kids love these. My next tip is a 2-for-1. Balance it out and don't weigh it down. All my lunches include a main protein-rich entree, like a sandwich. And I also include a fruit or veggie. Third, add a little snack treat that's not fully loaded with sugar, like yogurt or pretzels. Finally, they've been working hard all day, so they deserve a little sweet treat in my opinion. Just something small. And the other part of this tip is not to weigh it down. Don't pack them so much. They have about 3 minutes to eat their lunch, and you know when they get home, they eat as if they hadn't eaten all day. My next tip is to squeeze the extra air out of your baggies before putting them in the lunchbox. They won't take up as much room and the food is less likely to break. Next up, when you visit the fast food restaurants, don't toss out those utensils or condiment packets. These make great additions to the lunchbox and you don't have to worry if they throw them away when they're done. Every kid loves to dip, so this brings me to my next tip. Invest in these little portion cups. You can get these a lot of places, but the best value is to go to a restaurant supply store where you can get a whole lot for not a lot of money. These are great for hummus, peanut butter, ranch dressing, anything that you want to put on the side. These are just the right size and way cheaper than buying the prepackaged ones at the store. Finally, let's get to packing. Here's how I do it. Ice pack goes down first. I like to put the things that need to be cold directly on top of the ice packet. If you're worried about the sandwich getting soggy or any condensation getting to your sandwich, lay your napkin right on top of the ice pack and set your food right on top of that. Some lunchboxes come with a compartment for your ice pack. I don't trust that. I want my cold stuff to be cold. Next, slide in any heavier or non-fragile items. And finally, put your fragile things on top. It's not rocket science. And now I'm gonna share with you a few hacks I found on the internet and I'm gonna give them a try to see if they work. First off, I kinda like this idea. This is to wrap your sandwich in parchment or wax paper instead of a baggie. And then when you unwrap it, your kid has a placemat, so they're not setting their sandwich down on the lunch table. Pretty good idea. The next hack you've probably seen is to use cupcake liners to keep your food separated. I don't know how I feel about this one. I don't think they hold up that great, and they don't hold that much food. This to me is about a serving that my kids would eat. I feel like I can't get all these in the liners. I got about half, which means I would need multiple liners for one snack, which defeats the whole purpose. They don't really hold up. I mean, I don't really get this hack very much. It's It's good for those kids who don't want their food to touch, but they better not be big eaters. This next hack I found could be interesting, but I'm a little bit skeptical. It's to make your sandwiches at the beginning of the week and keep them in the freezer, then pull one out each day. When you stick it in your lunchbox, it's thawed out by the time lunch comes. My concern is, does that bread get soggy? I froze this one earlier. Now it's been out in time to thaw, so it is thawed. Like the outside of the plastic feels wet, so that's what concerns me. It's a little bit damp. And I only froze it for a couple hours. If this one had been in the freezer for a couple days, I think it would have even more moisture when it thaws out. So it's okay, it's edible, but I think this is a recipe for a soggy sandwich later. Gets a thumbs down from me. And have y'all seen the crust remover cutter? Y'all have got to see the best crust remover that I have found. The trusty old knife. Please tell me why you want something to take up drawer space in your kitchen, just a little piece of junk to cut the crust off your sandwich, and it actually wastes a lot of this bread around it, when all you have to do is just trim off just enough with a knife. Look at that. And finally, you know I'm a fan of ice packs. So if you don't have an ice pack, and if this does work, this would be an even less expensive way to stock up on some sponges from the dollar store, soak them in water, and then put them in the freezer. It's hard as a block of ice. So this is a good DIY ice pack. The question is, how long will it stay cold? Let me know if you've tried any of these hacks and what you think, and if you have any more great lunchbox packing hacks, send them my way. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and follow Well Done Food on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook.